here's one from U.S. News and World Report. No time to slow down. Can we keep working harder and harder indefinitely? Faster. The acceleration of just about everything. The average work week is now up to 47 hours, 4 more hours than 2 decades ago. And the writer of this article talks about how in our striving for greater income and success, we've lost friendship, we've lost good judgment, we've lost happiness. We're just doing too much. And then stressed out kids. This is from Time magazine. Children and teens seem more anxious today than they were 50 years ago. What can we do? And young people feel isolated. They feel just overburdened with all that they have to do. And then here's from the newspaper, overwhelmed CEOs leaving in droves. There's just too many demands, unrealistic demands on these high-paid professionals. And then here's a whole article on stress reduction that is needed today in praise of slowness, challenging the cult of speed. Not only do we have to work more, but we have to work faster and faster. Top concern of working parents is time. They don't have enough time. And here's a cartoon. Man walking down the street with his cell phone. Can you hold? I've got a call on my other phone. I was in the park, and here, racing by me, comes this young lady on a racing bike, her arms stretched out, holding the bike, leaning way down, and in her other hand is her cell phone, talking, really going fast. All I could see is her hitting a tree and just like a missile flying into the air. This is the complaint I hear no matter where I go. People say, I can't do anymore. We see it in conferences. We used to have an annual conference in our state. We couldn't possibly have that anymore. Very few would come. We have top speakers come. Very few come. People are overbusy, overstressed. They're distracted with many, many different things to do. And this hurts the spiritual life. And it definitely hurts volunteerism in the church. And it hurts getting real elders to take the job. They're just too frightened. So we need to know how to address this hyper-busyness. And so let's talk about some ways to do this, because you may be very sincere, you may be a good character, but there'll be practical things that will sap you of your skills and of your effectiveness for the Lord. Number one, organize your life and stay with it. It's right there in your notes. It's that last page in your notes. We have to organize the money God gives us, the time God gives us, the gifts. And if you are seeking to be a leader among the Lord's people, then you have to manage people and programs and money and buildings and all kinds of other things. Now, when I say organize your life, I don't mean it's something you do and you're done. It's something you do all throughout life. We are rearranging our schedule, our workload. It never ends. We keep adjusting to changing circumstances. The elder who basically was the founding elder of our church, started our church in his home, and very shortly with 2 other elders, was a very effective man. He had a full-time job all the years he was an elder in our church. And one of the things that marked Mr. Herb Banks was his incredible, orderly, organized life. He seemed to be able to do everything and take heavy load upon himself and follow through with anything. He had this unusual ability, and right from the beginning of our church, we had a well-managed church. And it was a church that was very excellent in whatever it did. And really, this all goes back to his organized, stay-with-it type of life, and challenging the other elders, and pressing the eldership. So it's something you will face now, you'll face when you're married, you'll face when you get older, you'll face when you face old age, that you have to keep adjusting yourself, arranging your life to meet the needs that you are faced with. 2, use a daily planner or a computer program, whatever you have to use. Everyone needs some method of managing our days, our weeks, our years. There's nothing worse than when you go to lunch and people don't show up. Oh, I forgot to write it down. Oh, I forgot. That happens to me quite often. It's very discouraging. Or someone is to show up at the church for something. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I said, don't you write it down? Oh, no, I forgot to write it down. Especially in our busy, demanding world today. Now, I use a planner like this. I've used the Franklin planner for years. You don't have to use this. It's just my method. Whatever method works for you. Now, a lot of people like to use computer programs or their Blackberries. I like this because I like paper. I've always written things down. I like lists. It works for me. Whatever works for you. That you remember appointments, that you remember phone calls. When people tell you something to do, you immediately write it down. Not only am I losing my hair, I'm losing my mind. If I don't write things down, I will not remember. It's just that simple. How about prayer requests? You're in church and a prayer request is given. Very important operation is ahead for someone, and you can't remember an hour later. That's disgraceful. Someone says, will you pray for me? Oh, yes, I'll pray for you, but you can't remember anything. It'll go in one ear and out the other, and you will not pray for that person. People give me prayer requests. I write it down right away. Immediately, because I will forget. I know that. I'm here at Emmaus this week. I've already made different appointments while I'm here. I write them down. I'll forget them. I don't even remember what I wrote down, but I'll look them up later. I remember to look at your day timer. Some people miss because, oh, I wrote it down, but I forgot to look. Now make this a habit. Make it the way you live, the way you operate. I see people with jobs in the assembly, they don't even have a watch. They don't write anything down. They just sort of walk around in a fog most of the time. It's amazing they're able to even function. But they remember to eat and get dressed in the morning. So you set up a system now while you're young, whatever works for you, that you remember things, that you plan things. Number 3, plan your day and week. Now I'm going to tell you a secret, if you will really help you in life, manage a day. People God uses in great ways are very busy people, very busy people. They handle a heavy load, lots of responsibility, a lot of people after them, lots of emails, lots and lots of phone calls. I get sometimes 30 phone calls a day. I don't even know how many emails I get. I have to have people actually handle some of my emails. There's so many of them. And plus I try to write a number of hours every day, plus sermons, plus travel. And unless you are a person that can plan and organize, you will just be buried so fast your head will spin off. So plan your day, plan your week. Here's a good secret. In the morning, after you've had your devotions or however you meet with God, take 5 minutes. That's all. Just take 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, look over your whole day. So maybe you have a planner like this, however you plan, doesn't matter. And you look at the day and you realize, I have a lunch appointment today. I realize today I have to get these certain things done. I have to meet with someone. The family's doing this today, and you look over the whole day. Just take 5 minutes. So when someone calls you and say, can I have lunch? No, my lunch is all filled up. You also know that in that day you have to accomplish certain things. And someone says, hey, do you want to go out and play basketball? Or, hey, we're going over to play Frisbee. Or, would you like to play video games with me? You look, you go, no, I can't today. This day is all fill in. So you'll know that when someone calls you. Or if someone calls you and say, hey, tonight can we go out and take a walk in the park? You can look and say, yes, I can. My evening's free. And you can do that. Now, if you'll do this, it will help you enormously. Once a week, plan your week and month. Now, my wife and I, either Sunday night or Monday at lunch, we will plan our week together as a family. So as a family, we get our calendar out and we look over the week, we look over the month, and we decide what we can do and what we can't do, and we see what days we're free. If we don't keep those days free, they'll be filled right in immediately. I can fill in every lunch and every dinner without even working at it. So we have to, as a family, look over the week and look over the whole month and sometimes a couple months, and we say, well, let's block this time out, and this time we need to have together, or let's be with the children or our grandchildren. And I've been very busy this new year, and so we made sure that after this trip, I have a whole 3 or 4 days where we get together with our family and get away for a couple days so we don't crack up. And God wants us to rest. God's not trying to kill us. We're trying to kill ourselves. So learn to look ahead and plan ahead. If you'll just do this 5 minute, if you'll just once a week, look over the month, look over the week, you will be able to assess what you are able to do and not do. So you can build in rest, you can build in exercise, you can build in time for others and for friendships and for just casual time. If you're a student, I know you always have homework to do. but you need to have time when you're not doing homework. Plan your day, plan your week. Number 4, create a checklist. Now, some people don't like checklists. I love them. They're essential if you're going to accomplish things, if you want to be a productive Christian. Now, if you want to just wander through life like you're in some kind of fog, well, then you don't need a checklist. But if you would like to serve the Lord's people, and if you would like to take heavy responsibility, if you want to care for people, you've got to know what you're doing. And so there's many ways to do this. You can carry a little card in your pocket. And this is what Mr. Herb Banks did in our church. He was famous for his little cards. He had a whole bunch of them. And whenever you'd ask him to do something, he'd pull his famous little card out. We all laughed at it. And he'd write down what to do. And then Herb and I, every 2 weeks, we'd have lunch together, and he'd pull out this famous card. And this famous card had jobs for me. I always knew, I'm in for more jobs. And he'd say, now, Alex, so-and-so hasn't been here for a while. I noticed this. And he would say, would you give them a call? Or there's something that you need to get caught up on that has been let go by others. And he would give me jobs at all our luncheons. And then he'd always check up about a week later. Were you able to call so-and-so? I said, Herb, I got that. After a while, he learned I took his cards very seriously. I did not want to face his wrath or his disappointment. And he was a great trainer that way. So when you have a job, write it down immediately. And that way you have a way to manage all the little jobs, all the little phone calls, all the little requests and prayer requests. Very important that you have some means to follow through with what you're to do. Number 5, organize your desk. Organize your workplace. I went into a man's home. He was having problems. And when I went into his home, I noticed the dining room table was just filled with papers. In fact, he must have had about 2 feet of papers on his dining room table. So I said, well, what are all those papers? Oh, he said, that's my business. That was his entire business. Guess what he wanted to talk about? His business. It wasn't doing well. I wonder why. And I said, how do you find things? Well, I says, every time I have to find a bill or find a receipt, I just have to go through the whole pile. I was visiting a church out in the plains of Colorado, and I got there, I was supposed to speak that evening, and got there to have dinner with the pastor and his wife. And so I went to the pastor's home, and I came into his home, and I almost immediately sensed complete disorder. Clothes were on the floor, piles and piles of newspaper every place. Could hardly find a place on the couch. Look into the kitchen, pots and pans and dishes and knives and forks all out on the counter, some on the floor, some in the dishwasher. Sink filled with stuff. The house was trashed. And I sat in the living room with the little spot I found, and the pastor said to me, we're having lots of problems in the church. I said, of course you're having problems. You're totally at disarray. One of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is self-control, order. One of the qualifications to be an elder. He couldn't manage that church. He couldn't manage all the problems. He couldn't even remember what he was to do the next day. Couldn't follow through with anything. Start with your desk. Make sure Monday it starts is nice and clean. Start with your room. Clean it occasionally. If your room looks like someone has thrown multiple hand grenades in it, you probably need to get organized. Organize your workspace. Disorder produces produces depression and confusion. Now sometimes you're working very hard and you have a lot of books out and you have a lot of things out, and that's okay. You have times of that. But then you should, within a day or two, make sure that gets all organized again. Now I want to just tell you this because you don't get discouraged. This is what you'll do all your life. All your life you will work at getting papers organized, cleaning up your desk, cleaning up your car, figuring out where this goes, sorting out your mail, sorting out your emails, just putting things in their right place. You will spend, and you'll wonder, why am I spending so much time at this? I want you to know everyone else does it. It's a part of a day. It's part of good order. So you don't get buried with life. And you have tables just filled with junk and you don't know where it is. And someone says, well, where's that bill? I don't have a clue. Where's my homework? I don't know. Where's my assignment? I don't know. This is a good place to start working on this. Now this brings us to number 6. Work with files. Work with files. Learn to file everything. I have thousands of file folders. I have about 4 filing cabinets. And like even today in my Bible reading, I saw verses I want to file in certain places, or I'm constantly finding good articles in magazines, and I write down what I want to file it under immediately, and then I get that in a file. If I don't have a file folder, I open a file folder and put it alphabetically so I know I can find things. If you don't do that, you can't find things. Now, I am literally handling tons of information every day from magazines, newspapers. I need that for illustrations or writing. And so, like on the plane, I read 2 magazines. I ripped out articles, wrote across it humility, or I wrote across it scheduling or something, so I know where I want to put that. So when I get home, I'll put those right away in a file folder so I can use them. Like all these, I put in a file folder on busyness. I have a lot more. I just picked out a few. And I'm saving these, and I might want to use these for quotations someday and for lectures. So work with files. You should have a nice area of file folders and a box of file folders, and just write it. Don't just use labels. You can use labels, but often after a while they break off and they fall and you lose them. I always write on them. Then if you want to put labels on top of them. But be filing all the time. Now maybe you want to use your computer. That's a good area to do. But you'll probably have to do both in life. Work with files, learn to organize things, learn to know where things are and where they go, or else you just have a massive chaos on your hands. Number 7, very important principle. When you work, work. When you work, work. Students come and they say, I've studied all day and I flunked. Well, if you mean that early in the morning, at 9 in the morning, they went down to the library and they put their book down on a table and opened it up, and at 10 o'clock at night they picked it up and walked home, well, yes, they've studied all day. But here's what else they've done. They've chatted a lot. They've spent time at the coffee lounge, and they puttered on the blogs, and they sent a lot of emails to friends, and maybe they read the newspaper, and they did a lot of other things. So when you work, work. Don't putter on the computer. Don't look around on the internet. If you're doing a homework assignment, put all those things aside. When someone comes by and they want to chat, just say, can I chat with you later? I've got to get this assignment done. Don't go up to the dining hall and spend a half hour in there chit-chatting. When your homework is done, go up to the dining hall and chit-chat. You need to chit-chat and you need to have fellowship and talk, but not when you're working. When you work, work. If you need to get alone, go to some place that's quiet. You're not going to be disturbed. Get away from the phone, turn the phone off. Many people have a job, and on the job they waste lots of hours puttering with other things. Many churches complain about secretaries who just talk on the phone all day or handle family business, and little gets done at the church. Wasting time. So, you have a homework assignment. It's Monday morning. Gone to class. After lunch, just set aside 2 hours. Uninterrupted time. Not 4 hours, most of it chopped up, but 2 hours uninterrupted time. It's amazing how much you will get accomplished. Go to where do you need to go, where it's quiet. Don't go where your friends are. Don't do your homework in the coffee lounge. You won't get much done. Now, if you're just puttering, that's okay. But when you work, work. 2 hours of work, you can get an awful lot done. 3 hours of work, you can get a lot done. That's why I always try to write in the morning. I try to start early before the phone goes and anyone starts to just disturb me, and I can get a lot done in 3 hours. And if I can get 5 hours uninterrupted, I am very happy. So when you work, work. Now, if you have a job, this is very important. Bosses know people waste time. Billions and billions of dollars are lost by people doing other things than work. People are caught again and again on the internet, searching around. Maybe they're looking for a car, they're looking to buy a house, and they spend hours at work doing personal things. That's not as unto the Lord. The 8th principle is so important, I want to wait till tomorrow to deal with 8. Seize small units of time. What I'm talking about, we are doing to the glory of God. To be effective for God. I have read many missionary biographies, many. My favorite are the biographies on Hudson Taylor. Hudson Taylor was not a time waster. Hudson Taylor handled hundreds of missionary problems and missionaries. He had much to pray about, many letters to write, sermons to write. You don't accomplish much unless you are a disciplined person and an organized person and an orderly person. Or you'll always be behind the 8 ball, you'll always be frustrated, and you won't have time for rest, you won't have time for leisure, you won't have time for your family, and you will frustrate everybody around you. And you will be a very poor leader that will frustrate those under you.